to CREED News Hour, where our cryptid and paranormal stories come directly from you, our viewers. Settle in as we take you to a personal account of the things that go bump in the night.
So, hi everyone. Once again, my name is Kieran, and I am not a stranger to the paranormal. I've had a few experiences throughout my life, but I can say that there was one that, that I will keep throughout. I will never forget this experience. And so, let's go ahead and start. Once again, I'm Kieran. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I currently not working or anything like that, but definitely dabbling into some interesting things. The story that I want to share is a story about St. Augustine, Florida. Myself and my ex-husband, I believe in the year 2017, we took a trip to St. Augustine, Florida. And for those of you who don't know, St. Augustine is one of the most haunted cities in the United States. And I think it was our 3-year anniversary. I can't remember, but I had decided to rent a bed and breakfast for us for about 3 days. And we had 2 bed and breakfasts. So the first one was at a well-known haunted bed and breakfast. We had 2 nights there. And then the third night we spent somewhere else. But this story, I'm going to try and recollect it as best as I can, but let's go ahead and talk about the first day. So we went ahead and did our sightseeing on the first day that we were there, just your normal stuff, settled into our bed and breakfast. And we were given a instruction sheet from them of numbers that you call in case of emergencies, things like that. And one of the things on that paper was no one that works there is there after 6 p.m. So nobody stays there after a certain time. So this was kind of my first indication that okay, this might be a creepy place. And the bed and breakfast that I did chose was a well-known, haunted bed and breakfast. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And so we go ahead and go about our day. The first day, everything's beautiful, nice. We didn't have any issues the first night. The second day, we decided to go to the beach. And while we were at the beach, I didn't wear any sunscreen, and neither did he. But I wasn't wearing any sunscreen, and I got a really, really bad sunburn. Okay. It hurt. It was really painful. And so my arms were just totally sunburned, and I was just in a lot of pain. So that night, when we did go back to our bed and breakfast, I distinctly remember that I was in so much pain from that sunburn that I just tried to go to sleep. I just really just wanted to go to sleep so that I could, go ahead and deal with it the next day. Now, I started to fall asleep. I was kind of grateful because I was in so much pain. And my ex-husband, after some time, I want to say about 30 minutes after I had fallen asleep, he starts nudging me awake. Okay. He starts nudging me awake. And I remember feeling irritated. I was irritated because I just was able to go to bed, and now I have to deal with this pain again. I was a little irritated, but I noticed that he was sweating. He was sweating pretty bad, and he was kind of shaking a little bit. And I had asked him, I was like, what is wrong? Why are you bothering me? I'm trying to go to sleep. And he's just there's a lot of noise in the room. There's a lot of noise. And he pointed to a wardrobe, a dresser type thing towards the end of the room. And he said that has been shaking for the last 15 minutes. And he was terrified. He was in a pool of sweat, trembling. And I was like, oh, he's just whatever, just taking it too far, it's in his head. And he's also one of those people who doesn't like scary stuff at all. He doesn't like anything haunted related. He doesn't like anything paranormal. Like I'm the opposite. And so I was like, well, it's not the dresser wasn't like moving when I woke up. But just to give you some context, was on the second floor, and our room was the only one that was on that side of the bed and breakfast. There wasn't a room on the top, and there wasn't a room, behind us. We're basically one of two rooms that were in that bed and breakfast on the second floor. Then that's when I started to notice the sounds, and it started with a towel falling in our bathroom. So that was the first thing that I heard, was like, okay, stuff starting to fall in the bathroom. And I just brushed it off once again. I'm just like, oh, that's nothing crazy. So I brushed that off. Then it started to get noisy, like actually noisy in the room. It started with, like right above our room, I could hear like footsteps. And that bed and breakfast was one of the ones where the owners at, like, back in, I don't know, like the 1800s, I want to say, like it was the early 1800s. There were soldiers that would seek respite at that bed and breakfast. So like the woman and the husband who had owned it at the time, they used it for like war purposes, for soldiers who could, come through and like relax, rest, eat, all of that stuff. So like that's what it was known for. And I hear like literal footsteps, like like stomping, like above our room. And that's when I started to freak out, because I was like, there is no room above ours, right? Where are these footsteps coming from? Literally sounded like a troop of army, like just stomping through at the top of the ceiling, essentially. Okay, that was weird. And so then my ex-husband was freaking out. Like he was definitely like, this is creepy. But then we started to hear knocking right behind our bed. So like the wall right behind our bed, it legitimately sounded like someone was knocking on it. And it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Literally all of the other rooms are like, the folks in there are asleep. There should be, but the stomping, like, so the knocking right behind our bedroom wall, that started to freak me out, because there wasn't a room behind us. Like I said, we were one of two rooms on the second floor, and there was a couple who was supposed to check in to the largest master bedroom. They didn't show up that night. Like, they did not show up. And that, if you search YouTube, I can't remember the name of the bed and breakfast, but there's even a paranormal story about that particular master bedroom having the ghost of the woman, who owned that bed and breakfast at the time, like, kind of like some paranormal activity related to that. So we had a feeling that they didn't show up because of the hauntedness of that place. Okay. So once the knocking did not stop, the stomping of the feet did not stop. At this point, my ex-husband is completely freaked out. I mean, I was scared too, but like, he was basically like, I want to get out of the room. I want to get out of the room. Now, me, on the other hand, I was willing to ignore it just for the fact that my sunburn was so bad. Like, I was in so much pain. I didn't know if I should care about like the sounds, or like, do I want to go back to sleep? He wasn't going to have it. So then we decided to actually leave the room, like run out of the room. And as soon as we get downstairs, we realize we don't have our car keys. We left it in the room. Now we're both freaked out, because like none of us wanted to go back into the room to get the car keys. He wasn't going near it with like a 10-foot pole. I was like, okay, I'll go get it. And walking up those steps towards the room, like, it was just such an eerie feeling. I just opened that room. I dashed to get my car keys and got out of there as fast as I could. So we are now outside of our room in the courtyard, right? And even the courtyard has this kind of creepy kind of vibe to it. It's like it's got these like old statues, like fountains, like old water fountain type of statues there. And I'm sitting there and I'm just trying to give it some time, maybe like an hour, whatever, and maybe see if we can go back into the room. Ex-husband was not having it. He was like, I do not even want to be in the courtyard. He's like, I'm too freaked out. I need to go to the car. And so that's when we decided to go to the car. And I decided to take a nap because we were not going to go back into the room that night. I mean, I was pretty irritated, but he was adamant about not being in the premises at all. Okay. Now, I start falling asleep in the car. Okay. And once again, my ex-husband is nudging me awake. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what is it this time? And he tells me that he sees a fire in the distance, an actual fire in the distance that there was no, it was just kind of like it appeared to him. I didn't see this, but he saw it twice, he said. He's like, we need to get out of the car and go for a walk. I was like, so what happened to the fire? And he says it appeared twice and then it wasn't there. And I obviously don't see any of this because it just seems that stuff, sort of went away whenever it was my time to, like, whenever I started to, wake up and come to. I didn't witness this, but he swears by it. That's when we decided to just wake up, get out of the car, and go for a walk around like the pier of St. Augustine. And for history, it was around the time when there was the French and Spanish War. And so basically that entire shore, like the entire like edge of the water was littered in bodies from the war. Like St. Augustine was built on top of bodies, on top of soldiers' bodies and things like that. And we decided to get out. We decided to take a walk around the pier, and that's when we started talking to people, telling, like, we would meet people. We just started talking to them, and then we started sharing, like, this what happened to us, and they were like, "Yep, we are not surprised that you experienced it. Like, there's always something paranormal happening in the city." And so we felt reassured, but we still wouldn't go back to the bed and breakfast. So basically that second night we spent outside. Like we just slept in the car. And yeah, that is basically my experience at St. Augustine with my ex-husband in that paranormal room. So thank you for thanks for listening and letting me share.
I was there with you. I I had to grab me a water myself, and I'm sitting here thinking about bed and breakfast.
Mhm,
Every time that I hear about them personally, they're always described as pretty well established, beautiful. The
mhm,
owners always take good care of the property. I've never heard too many bad reviews on them
mhm.
until until now.
Bed and
The
breakfast
thing
itself
with
actually has great reviews, but not everybody's experienced something paranormal there, and I think it depends on the room that you're in that might have more activity versus others.
I wonder would that go on a Yelp review? Like I saw a ghost, or I seen things flying off of the kitchen countertop. Uh,
Mm.
we need somebody to come in here and fix this. Uh, 4 stars. I would have gave it a 5, but I barely got any sleep.
I actually ended up
Now,
leaving a
what
Google
I
review.
yeah,
Yeah, I ended up leaving a Google review for that hotel, for that bed and breakfast, and it was like the same story that I told you. And just letting people know that, like, hey, there it's kind of active. So just keep in mind.
Why is it specific souls attached to those places?
Mm.
What would make someone want to linger even after they've transitioned to the next side? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
When you describe the soldiers and the footsteps, all I could think about was they had to have been a situation that would cause a person to constantly come back here.
Yeah.
Like it was so traumatic. Something
Mm.
had to have happened that was that extreme, or you were that emotionally tied to it that you just can't let it go.
Yeah. I think I think that the soldiers and the footsteps are more of a sign that like they felt safety in that place, right? Like away from the war, away from like having to go out and like, murder, kill people and things like that. I think that that was a safe place. And so that's why they, came back. Like their souls just sort of came back to that place.
I could see that. I definitely see that. Man, I try to tell people if I ever share a story, it's going to sound extremely far fetched. You're not really going to understand where I'm coming from unless you were there.
Yep.
How do you, how do you, how did you move on after that? Like, did it leave any residual feelings with you? Did you walk around carrying on with life, having residual effects from it? Did it kind of have you paranoid, or did you just go on normally? Like everything is just a regular routine.
I would say that like that was a pretty freaky experience. Like it took me a while to like to not think about it after that, if that makes sense. It's kind of like it felt so real, and it was almost so hard to deny that, like, I thought about it for a while after that, and, like, even to this day, like, I can't like, you don't forget the certain emotions and feelings that you felt during that time, like, it was scary, and the thing that scared me the most was leaving the car keys and then having to come back into the room, not knowing, like, what would happen next type of thing, so and my ex-husband was the one who, like, he's just way more freaked out, like, than I was. So, like, I kinda got over it, but, like, I still love this story, but, you know.
Right, right, right. What would you say to somebody who might have had a similar experience, but they're not really sure and
Mhm.
they think that they're losing it? What would you say to them?
I would say that you are someone that is, you know, able to receive, right? Like, receive those paranormal experiences, like, it's probably because you're more open in a way, and you might not realize it, that you're more open to those, types of experiences, and you're not crazy. Like, if your body feels scared, your body is, like, tensing up, you're hearing things, you're not crazy. Like, you're not, like, excluded from the fact that you might experience something paranormal. That it's okay. You're not crazy.
The spiritual world is real, whether or not
Yes.
people want to believe it or not. Honestly,
Mhm. I agree.
just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And
Exactly.
I've seen things that I could never express or articulate in this very house that I'm in right now.
Oh, wow.
I wish I had the pictures still. I wish I like you don't have a camera or a phone in your hand when stuff happens. It just happens and
Right.
you just
Mhm. Yep.
you know you're not going to just capture it. So yeah, I'm with you with that 1,000%. You're not
And when you're in
necessarily
the fear, like when you're in the fear, for example, like we had our phones in the room. We could have at any point, taken them out and like started recording, but it's like the fear of that moment. You're not thinking about the phone. You're in tune with all of the sounds around you, and you're freaked out. Like you're like, am I going to die? Like, like you don't know how
right.
serious that paranormal experience might be.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I'm not picking up no phone.
Yeah.
I'm probably I'm probably gonna leave too. I ain't gonna lie. But I'll probably save that one for another time. Like it's crazy to think that you're crazy when you're not crazy.
Mhm.
For me, it's not sound. A lot of the things that I came across was like visual. And at first glance, I didn't pay it no attention until I did a double take, or someone looked at it and said, "Look, check this out." And then I go in and I zoom in, and then I see what it is, and it's like, oh, I didn't
Mhm.
see that originally.
Yeah.
So I thank you for sharing that with us, for taking
Thank
time out of
you.
your day to. This was good. This was good. I'm enjoyed putting this together and making sure that the audience gets the full experience like I did. I enjoyed this one very thoroughly, and it's something to think about.
Thank you so much for having
It
me. I
really,
appreciate it.
of course, of course. How can people reach you if they would like to get in contact?
Like they can reach me through threads. I'm very active there. Like if you want to share some paranormal stories of your own, I've got a few paranormal stories, so I'm always open to listening and hearing to them. Like, or you can reach me through Instagram. So I'm pretty active on both of those apps.
Sounds good. Well, you guys, you enjoy whatever left you got with your time and your day. Uh, you're always welcome to come up anytime. Um, that's pretty much the show. Y'all take it easy.
Thank you. Bye bye.